And welcome into the Paul Farrington Show, our Week 6 reaction show. Paul joined alongside Jack Weinberger, Robert Ziggy Ziegler at the University of Virginia, and Zach Bloomquist.
Whoa, hold on. He just didn't cut to me. He just straight up didn't cut to me. What's this?
What did you say? Before anybody heard this, Ziggy said something before. He's not being shown.
We don't
have to.
Ziggy made a little joke
comment
at Zach.
Here you go, Ziggy. Oh, and goodbye.
There's the screen time. And Zach Bloomquist.
That's about all it's going to be for Ziggy today.
The best executive producer in the game. A lot of football this weekend, a lot of big games, some big upsets. Something I noticed as I was going through each game, a lot of missed kicks too, actually. If you go back and watch all the highlights of these games, a lot of kickers were just off this week. And in some cases, it was very costly, like in the 49ers and the Browns, a 19-17 shocking upset. Actually, not shocking because, of course, I haven't bet on one single NFL game this year. It's been all college. But this was the game where I saw 49ers minus 6.5. PJ Walker starting for Cleveland. Yeah, I was all over it. And it started off exactly as I expected. Right down the field. Niners get a stop, go right down the field, score a touchdown. Fred Warner picks off PJ Walker down to the 25-yard line. I was like, yeah, I'm a genius. I think I turned in the car and looked at Jack and said, this was an obvious hit. Like, this was probably the lock of the year.
And I mean, I agree. I was like, yeah, this will be, I said 35-0, I think.
Maybe it should have gone that way. Some big injuries from McCaffrey got hurt. Deebo Samuel. Square. Yeah, I know. I see what Ziggy's doing. Christian McCaffrey got hurt. Deebo got hurt. Trent Williams went down. And this was the first game where Brock Purdy, who we were calling Superman, or at least I'll say Ziggy and I were pretty high on him. He's saying he doesn't make mistakes. Fumble, his first interception of the season. The offensive line did not play well for San Francisco. Give credit to Cleveland where it's due. But this was the first time where we saw a 49ers team not look invincible. And they still really should have won the game and missed a 41-yard field goal at the end to win it. But one funny thing, too, regarding the gambling around this game.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, Jack and I were driving back from the Notre Dame game. So we're listening to all the games. We had Red Zone pulled up, and I was just listening as I was driving. But we pull into an Ohio bathroom, and a lot of Browns fans were there. I guess they were, I don't think they were coming from the game. They might have been, actually.
We were like an hour outside Cleveland.
Yeah, so some Browns fans were probably coming from the game. And we're standing in the restroom, and this one Browns fan, Jack goes like, oh, big win, big win. He's like, yeah, real big win. Cost me $1,500. He was a Browns fan who got so discouraged that he bet $1,500 on the Niners and lost it all. And I turned around, and I was like, my God, you bet against your team. Like, you cost me $20. He's like, dude, $1,500.
Yeah, you can never do that.
You can't bet against your team. You just absolutely cannot do that. But to go back to the 49ers here, I'll go to you first, Ziggy. This game, no concern, right? Just a bad game?
No, I mean, the 49ers should always be scared playing Jim Schwartz. Jim Schwartz is 8-1 against Kyle Shanahan as a defensive coordinator. Like, he absolutely is Shannon's number. And Shannon's only scored 20 points once. So it's not like the offense has been putting out shootouts. Mm-hmm. I mean, look, every team is going to have bad games once in a while. And this Browns defense is otherworldly, right? Their defensive performance has been 99th percentile or better 5 out of their 6 games.
Wow.
Like, this is one of the best defenses we've ever seen in the NFL.
Through 6 games. Maybe through 6 games, you could say.
Yeah, I mean, so far, their performance has been otherworldly. Right. So I'm not super worried about what we saw. Like, Brock Purdy, he has faced tough defenses before, right? People seem to be forgetting that he absolutely lit up the Cowboys. They had their, just a week ago, they had their 3 best. Yeah, they had their, look, if any team in the NFL loses their best wide receiver, their running back, and their left tackle against a good defense, things are going to go poorly. Like, it's not the 49ers are planning to have these players in, right? You're asking them in the middle of the game against a defense that's playing well to suddenly change their entire offense. That's just not going to go well. And people are forgetting again, even though it wasn't a good game from Brock Purdy, he played well enough to put them in a position to win the game in a tough game. So the weather was bad. He was facing a good defense, but this 49ers team is still good. They're 5-1. They're probably going to win their next 5 or 6 games. There is nothing to worry about in San Francisco or with Brock Purdy yet.
I would generally agree with you, but the one thing that I took away from this game was how poorly the offensive line played, and yet you do have to acknowledge how good the Cleveland front 7 has been. Really, the whole Cleveland defense, like you had mentioned. But that's the way that you can beat the 49ers. If there was one way, you have to get pressure on Purdy and try to make him make a mistake. This was the first time we just saw him off in general on the year. Of course, the one game where I throw down some money on him, he's off. But to make the 49ers make mistakes, that's really the one way you can beat them. And Cleveland may have laid a blueprint for some other teams. Now, not everyone's capable of that.
The blueprint is Myles Garrett.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what I was saying. Not everyone's capable of that, but a team like the Eagles, teams like, maybe Dallas, who just got whooped, but you got to just make them make mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying most this year that the 49ers look seriously unbeatable and invincible. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of a ridiculous thing to say because you're going to lose games in the NFL. These guys are all pros. You're flying across the country. It's a 10 a.m. kick. The weather's crap. You have some injuries. There's zero cause for concern. The Browns just balled out on defense and got the win. And nonetheless, we mentioned these injuries. Like Ziggy said, Purdy did play well enough to win the game or put them in position to win the game in the end, and just missed the field goal.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that they have, not everyone's going to win every game. The 49ers had won 15 straight regular season games. Purdy had not lost before this, a game that he started from the beginning to the end. It was the longest streak in 49ers history of regular season wins. So finally that's broken. It did start to feel like, okay, could this team even lose? So for me, even though the Vikings are out, it was a little refreshing to see the 49ers. I was getting a little tired of all the 49ers hype. They're still probably the best team in the NFL at the moment. One quick note on Cleveland that I wanted to bring up, and it kind of relates into the Ravens here, is that their defense, think about their games this season, dominated the Bengals 24-3, 27-3 against the Titans, shut them down. What they just did to the 49ers, who were having one of the best had one of the best offenses in the league coming into this game. They've really, and even Pittsburgh too. I know the Steelers offense stinks, but other than the Pickens reception, your offense didn't beat them. TJ Watt, the defense.
You had two defensive
touchdowns.
We beat the
Steelers stink.
We beat the Cleveland Browns. We're in first place in the North. We beat the Cleveland Browns. I don't want to hear it. We're in first place.
I don't think the Browns are a Super Bowl team.
We beat the Browns, who beat the Niners, and we're in first place.
Okay.
So I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear it.
The Cleveland defense has shut everyone down, except the Ravens. They got whooped 28-3. So Baltimore right now.
You know who beat them also? Us.
Yeah, I know. 28-3 though. I think this Ravens team right now in the North, they've been impressive to me. Lamar Jackson has been just awesome. We don't need to get into their game right now, but just saying the Browns have shut everyone down except one team.
Who you love? Who you love?
No, I think you guys stink.
We should beat both these teams.
Yeah, you do, but you win under extraordinary circumstances.
Our defense is the best in the league.
Yeah, you got
it's not a Steelers segment, but
we don't need to get at this. We don't need to get so.
I'm just saying this. If you're a 49ers fan, don't worry one bit. You're heading to Minnesota next week.
Okay.
That is going to be the perfect game for Brock Purdy with a very vulnerable secondary, a weak defensive line, a mediocre offense that's going to give you the ball 4 extra times because of turnovers. 49ers are winning this week, and then they're going to be cruising for a little while.
Well, he needs are McCaffrey and Debo going to be healthy?
Unclear on McCaffrey. Debo right now is day-to-day.
Because I've said all along, it's not Purdy. It's his weapons. So he needs those guys healthy.
It wouldn't matter against the Vikings. Although, since it doesn't matter for the Vikings anymore that much, we actually might win that game.
Might win that game.
Which, as you saw against the Bears. Ziggy, your text was great. Vikings get outplayed and win the game. The absolute worst-case scenario for this Vikings team. We're not going to talk about them right now. So one team that was undefeated, the 49ers, they fell, which opened the door for the Philadelphia Eagles to take sole possession of the number 1 seed in the NFC, and they were going up against the Jets. Sauce Gardner was out. DJ Reed was out. You'd figure that would present some big problems when the Eagles have Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown on the other side. And once again, this game started off similar to the 49ers-Browns, where it was like, okay, 14-3 Eagles. Looks like they're probably going to cruise. And almost like the Buffalo Jets game to a degree. That's what I was getting a little bit of flashbacks. The Jets defense just starts making play after play. Jalen Hurts has 3 interceptions on the day. DeAndre Swift had a big fumble when they could have possibly put the game out of reach at the end of the first half, allowed the Jets to get back into it to make it 14. I believe it was 14-9 at half instead of 17-6 if Philly had been able to get a field goal. So this Jets team, once again, finds a way to win. Zach Wilson seems to be getting a little bit better every week, even though the offense isn't that impressive to me. I'm not blown away at all by anything the Jets are doing on the offensive side of the ball. Does this defense make them an actual playoff I don't want to say threat, but a playoff consideration for you?
I mean, I don't know how you say no, right? Because this is a team who has beaten Buffalo, who is probably a Super Bowl contender, a team who lost by 3 to the Chiefs and probably should have won that game. They're a Super Bowl contender. And a team who just beat the Eagles, they're
kind of crazy, right?
Like, they're a contender. I mean, you got waxed at Dallas, but fine on the road, whatever. Like, but they're sitting there at 3-3 with wins over 2 of the best teams in the league. Another hard-fought game under the wire against probably the best team in the league. This defense is probably the best in the NFL, and they didn't have their 2 best corners.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really. It's tough to say they're not a playoff contender in the AFC.
Yeah, remember when we were talking about the preseason with this team, right? We were saying if they can get through the first six games at 500 or better, they're going to be okay. Because on the schedule, they go to Buffalo, they host the Dolphins, they go to Miami. But otherwise, I mean, they've got a game against the Giants, the Raiders, the Falcons, the Texans, the Commanders, the Browns, the Patriots. I know that the Jets versus Patriots are kind of cursed, but this is a winnable schedule. This is a schedule you can get 9 or 10 wins out of, sort of sneak into the AFC playoffs. Then, are you going to win the Super Bowl? Probably not, but winning a playoff game or 2 is not out of the question.
It's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that too, Ziggy, the first 6 games. We talked about them going 3-3 being a win with Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
And they're sitting here with Zach Wilson at 3-3 right now. The teams that I consider a threat to them in terms of the playoff race, they're not going to win the AFC East, but they'll be in the wild card battle. You're probably looking at the Chargers being a team in there. You're looking at maybe the Browns. You're also probably, I'm assuming the Dolphins will get in. The Texans could be there if the Jaguars win the AFC South. They play all those teams. They host the Texans. They host the Chargers. They go to Cleveland. The path is there for the Jets to make a move to the playoffs. And it's kind of crazy. The Jets fans are actually excited right now, even though I'm still hesitant to really believe because the offense any given week can just fall apart.
Score 0 points.
But Zach Wilson is looking a little bit better. And I think Breece Hall is one of the best running backs in the league right now. He seems to be healthy. Garrett Wilson makes big plays. It's a kind of a fun time to be a Jet fan, even though you have to go into it with, look, if you limit your expectations, you could be in store for a fun season.
We saw it after last week against the Chiefs. And I found this pretty interesting, how you look a year later, how Zach Wilson took ownership in the loss to Kansas City. Whereas 1 year ago was that whole thing where he was like, no, it's not on me. It's a team game, whatever.
Yeah.
And that kind of rubs some guys the wrong way. Now a year later when he says, you know what, I got to be better. That's on me. Blah, blah. Defense played great. Like this is on me. We could have won this game. My fault. I feel now that it's a different story. The rest of the team kind of has his back, but he's in such a tough spot with the pressure, New York media and all this. And it's hard now not, if you're on the Jets, to really ball out and try to win for him. And I think that they're in a good spot with that.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ziggy.
I mean, look.
Like, rise to the occasion for him.
Yeah. The team, it's good you say the teams are rising to the occasion for him, because as long as Zach Wilson is the quarterback of this team,
I mean,
they are not going, the offense is a net negative. It just is, and it always will be, right? People are talking about how Zach Wilson is doing a little bit better. That's because he's getting close to a net zero. He's still a net negative. You can look at the numbers. They back this up, but he's getting close to a net zero, and the defense can do their job. So, I mean, yeah, the team's going to have to step up around him. I think if you look at some of the advanced metrics, the Jets have been lucky to win what they've won, but they're winning those games. They go on to some easier schedules. I mean, again, that defense is clearly good enough to win them games. And you just hope it doesn't turn out like the Broncos last year, right? Where Russell Wilson was so bad that he dragged the whole team down around him. Yep. If Zach Wilson can just be a net zero, if he can just find a way to not screw things up, and that means things like not taking 5 sacks, which he did last game against the Philadelphia Eagles. The closer he gets to net zero, the better things will be for this team. And who knows, right? Winning a playoff game, not out of the question. You get the 5 or 6 seed, you get a little lucky, thing can break your way.
Yeah, that's the thing with the Jets, and it's fine. It's kind of the same with the Steelers. Zach Wilson just can't really be turning the ball over. I mean, go 3-0 and then punt and have your defense force a turnover. I mean,
I think about how many times the Jets had a short field in this game.
Just win the field position battle.
I found for Philadelphia, it seemed to me like this is one, if you're an Eagles fan, you're just, hitting your head on the table saying, wow, we let one get away here. And it might, even though it's week 6, it's early, first loss, this team doesn't feel like they have an identity. And the more you can steal these games, actually, I'm sorry, they do have an identity. And I thought they escaped that identity in this game by having Jalen Hurts throw the ball 45 times when, they're great at ground and pound. They didn't do a lot of that in this one. But when you look back later in the year, if they're racing with San Francisco for the 1 seed, or even Detroit, and we'll get to them in a minute, you could look back on this one and say, wow, we let this one get away with the 3 interceptions and the big fumble at the end of the first half. The final interception for Hurts, I mean, that just can't happen. It was, 3rd and 9 at the end of the game, 14-12, no timeouts for the Jets. At the very worst, you're punting the ball down, and I don't trust that offense to go all the way down the field, even if they just need a field goal. And Jalen Hurts gets picked off by Tony Adams, returned to the 8-yard line. Did you guys like the decision to let the Jets score a touchdown? Because I didn't, personally. If you have 2 timeouts in your pocket, about, a minute 50 left, I'd rather try and force the Jets to kick a field goal. And I think Jalen Hurts in that offense can get down the field in a minute or minute 10, whatever.
And get into just field goal range.
Yeah, right? As opposed to making yourself have to score a touchdown when they went down 6. I would have preferred to have see them try to get the stop. Especially
with 2 timeouts. Let's say it's 1st and goal and you get a stop and it's 2nd and goal. Then you can maybe burn one. Mm-hmm. And then it's 3rd and goal, burn another one. Like you'll get the ball back with...
You'll have a minute 10. You'll have a minute to a minute 10, no timeouts, and you need a field goal in the best case.
I would have probably said, try my best on defense. Yeah, and if they get in, they get in, whatever. But I wouldn't have let them in.
Okay. Ziggy,
if they had one time, it's different though. 2 timeouts, I'm saying no. But if it was 1 timeout and they just wanted to go in, yeah, let them in.
Ziggy, similarly to the question with San Francisco, are you a little more concerned with this Eagles team right now just because of the way they've looked to start this year? San Francisco's been dominating people leading up to their first loss. The Philadelphia, it's felt like they've really escaped the Commanders game. They escaped the Patriots game. The Vikings, they kind of dominated, but still a closer call than it probably should have been at the end.
I really like the way the Eagles handled things after this loss, right? The players got together. They said, Nick Sirianni, you're not allowed in the locker room. We need some time to ourselves. And the team leaders just went in on themselves and on the whole team. Why? Because we know what this Eagles offense can do. Right? You've got the same head coach. You got the same play caller. You got most of the same players from that incredible one last year. Like, this team is good enough to put a solid offensive performance together. And the defense has held up their end of the bargain. Right? Besides the Vikings game and the Commanders game, I don't think they've given up more than 20 points. So I think they just need to figure things out. Now, they don't have a lot of time to do that. Right? Over the next 5 weeks, they play the Dolphins, the Cowboys, the Chiefs, and the Bills. Sorry, next 6 weeks, next 5 games. And then after that, they got the 49ers and then the Cowboys again. So they have an extremely difficult run coming up. So, yeah, they need to figure things out. I think they've got the people to do it, but I'm a little bit worried that it's taken them this long.
More concern with the Eagles and the 49ers.
Absolutely. I mean, the Browns defense, I think, is better than the Jets defense. But besides, the Eagles just haven't looked quite right all season. Right? Don't forget, they played a close game against the Vikings. They played a close game against the Patriots. They've only won by more than 1 score against the Rams and the Buccaneers. Those aren't bad teams, but the Eagles need to look a little bit better. So give them a couple weeks. Hopefully they can figure things out after this Dolphins game, after this Commanders game. And we can go back to seeing what Jalen Hurts could be.
So the Eagles and the 49ers both drop a game, and now tied with them at the top of the NFC standings are the Detroit Lions following their 20-6 win against the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, we said we expected this, that Tampa Bay, despite the 3-1 record, was probably a little bit overhyped by some people. They're a good football team, but when they play the big boys, and I guess Detroit now, you have to consider them a big boy, they kind of get pushed around a little bit. And it wasn't a total domination from start to finish by Detroit, but definitely the Lions made a statement in this game. especially
it's
go.
Like I said, once Baker Mayfield's under pressure, I said this was the week you were going to see him stop putting up those incredible pressure stats. I was watching the game on TV. They put up a thing like, look how good Baker Mayfield's been under pressure. Incredible completion percentage, incredible passer rating. Immediately pressured and throws his first interception of the game.
Baker finishes 19 for 37, 206 yards, and an interception. On the flip side, Jared Goff ends the day 30 for 44 for 353 yards, a season high, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He's just been great all year. In Detroit, what you have to love if you're a Lions fan, they're not even healthy yet. David Montgomery got hurt in this one. He'll be out for a couple of weeks, it seems. Jahmyr Gibbs didn't even play. And they're still clicking. They're still humming. Amon-Ra St. Brown was amazing. Jamison Williams was introduced with a 45-yard touchdown in the game. But to me, despite the Lions' offense being as good as it is, and it has been really good this year, 7th in yards, 9th in points per game, 4th in points per game, and 4th also in yards. It's the defense to me that has been impressive. Because last year, you were talking about a team that was last in yards per game allowed and 28th in points per game allowed. And it was just a killer. They were like the Vikings defense. Anyone could do whatever they wanted. This year, 7th in yards allowed per game, 9th in points allowed per game. Complete difference where we said if they were average, this Detroit team became a contender. And now they're not just average. They're playing nearly elite defense. And you got to be pumped up if you're a Lions fan. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, it's nice watching the Lions not have to win a game 38-35. Where your offense balls out, but your defense looks like Swiss cheese. Holding any NFL team on the road to 6 points is awesome. And they did what they had to do. Like we said this last show, the Bucs are not a team built to make a comeback. Their defense is decent, but not built to come back. The Lions got ahead, and they stayed ahead. And then the defense was awesome. It was a Lions home game, too. A lot of Lions fans there.
Lions fans have been traveling well.
They've been traveling. I mean, they're into it now. With 5-1. Tied for first place in the NFC?
Yeah, I had to do a double take when I was looking at the little ticker at the bottom when it said Detroit 4-1. I was like, what is going on here?
It reminds me of like what I've said in the past about the Dolphins. It's nice to see them now being able to win games kind of both ways. Where if you only score 20 points, you're not going to lose 31-20. You win 20-6.
Yeah, no, they've been great. Ziggy, when you look at Detroit right now, are you ready to say, they're on the same level with the Niners and the Eagles?
I don't know how you can't. I mean, people are saying that this is a team that needed every single thing to go right. Well, they had 40 rushing yards this game. Did not matter, right? Jared Goff was consistently able to get things done. And when you talk about complete teams in the NFL, right, to be a real contender in the NFL, you either need Patrick Mahomes or you need a solid offense and a solid defense. Like those are the two ways to compete in the NFL, and the Lions aren't going out and getting Patrick Mahomes. But they're one of those teams that's complete. Like, are they really worse off on the completeness factor than the Eagles? You know, their quarterback's better than the 49ers, even if the skill position and defense is a little worse. The offense is better than the Eagles. The defense is better than the Dolphins. They're more consistent than the Bills. They beat the Chiefs. Like, this is a team that can play good football and has good players at almost every position. You worry about the secondary depth, but I imagine that they're going to be fixing that when the trade deadline hits. So yeah, I think this team is up there clearly in tier 1. They're 5-1 and they're a legitimate 5-1, right? They're not getting here by getting fluky 1-point wins. Their only 1-point win was against the Chiefs. Like, yeah, what more do you need to see from this team to think they're a real contender?
Zach, why are you laughing at this?
I'm just hearing the fluky 1-point wins, and it just reminds me of average Kirk Cousins again.
Oh, all right. Enough of that. Enough.
Okay, well, but look, I'll say this.
It's absurd.
If you want the Lions to be contenders, you need that 1 seed, right? This is just true. You want the playoffs to go through Detroit. And boy, this team's got a game against the Broncos. They got 2 games against the Vikings. They got 2 games against the Bears. They've got a game against the Raiders. Again, I hate talking about schedules too much. I feel like I've done that a lot this show. But boy, howdy.
There it is.
You're 5-1, and you've got a bunch of easy games left on the schedule. They play 1 good team the rest of the season. They play 2 good teams.
Crazy. And you
they
just
go to Baltimore
Eagles
next week. They go to the Cowboys, and that's it.
And you just said, Ziggy, and I agree. How you just look at the eye test the first 6 weeks. The Eagles have not looked fantastic, whereas the Lions have been murdering teams.
Yeah, no, the Lions look awesome.
After that Seattle loss, it's been curtain. They've been
even
killing
in the
everybody.
Seattle loss. That was one of those games where they turned the ball over. I think there were 2 really big turnovers.
They still
in
scored
that game
34 points in that game.
that swung it back in Seattle's favor. Detroit's been great, and they're really good in the trenches too. That's what's common with all the great NFC teams over the past couple of years. You're dominating on both lines, and Detroit has been phenomenal there. It's really a crazy turnaround when you look at it, but overall, you have to consider them right now absolutely a top-level contender. If they get the 1 seed, man, I didn't realize their schedule was that light down the stretch. You just talked about Philadelphia, how difficult the games are for them over the course of the next 6, 7, 8 weeks. Can you imagine a 1-seeded Lions?
They've been picked on the Super Bowl for the 1 seed.
Yeah, you look at the teams left in the NFC. The Cowboys have the 4th hardest remaining schedule. The Eagles, the 9th. The 49ers, the 10th. The Lions, the 31st.
Wow.
The only team with an easier remaining schedule is the Falcons.
Are the Lions going to be the 1 seed?
That's a video title right there, and it sounds clickbait, but in all seriousness,
no.
If they're as good as right now we think they are, with that schedule, you have to say right now they're the favorite to be the 1 seed. You would have to.
Yeah.
If you believe in Detroit, they are on track to be the 1 seed.
This was also...
Jeez, what the hell?
This is also a very big win because there's been... I mean, I'm sure some people have had their speculations, like, is this Detroit team legit? I mean, including us. The Bucs are 3-1, first place. It's a road game, potential type of trap game, like what happened to the Eagles and the Niners. The Lions went in there and it was only 20-6, but they kicked their ass. Like, they dominated them.
Yeah, I felt like it wasn't pure domination, but it was definitely Bucs, as I said, a statement win.
Yeah, there was no chance the Bucs ever had in that game.
And look at the Falcons too. Yeah, the teams that they have to beat up on, the Lions are beating up on. And I liked what you said about the eye test before. San Francisco has looked really good. Detroit has looked really good. Yes. Sometimes you can, like Miami, when they're clicking, they're a really good football team. Some teams aren't there right now. Like the Bengals were not there until the past couple weeks. Even right now, the Bengals really aren't there. The Eagles aren't there. Detroit's good. Let's go on to another near upset here. The Bills-Giants. Bills wind up winning 14-9. This was one that really felt like it got away from the Giants. If you just look at the course of the game, they kept getting in the red zone time after time, and they wind up with 3 field goals and 2 stops at the 1-yard line. And we can talk about those 2 stops real quick. At the end of the first half, 14 seconds left, they have the ball on the 1, and Tyrod Taylor audibles out of a passing play to a run. Saquon Barkley stuffed. They wind up getting only that 1 attempt, and they go to half at what was it, 6-0 at the time, as opposed to 13 or 9-0. Brian Dable was furious too. You saw him flipping out on the sideline. He said
it was his fault.
Do you think it was Dable's fault?
Absolutely.
What,
at least in part.
For just even giving Taylor the option.
Here's what it is. Taylor shouldn't be optioning into the run. That's true. But you can't give him a play that has that option unless you are confident you have prepared him. It's at least partly the coaching staff's fault.
But it sounded to me like Dable likely made it very clear not to run.
But why not just go in this? Like,
I guess you just say like absolutely under no circumstances do you audible this.
I mean, no offense, Tyrod's been a starting quarterback. 14 seconds left. I mean, he's played the game long enough. Run the ball.
Oh, you're saying you can't, or you're saying you're not defending Taylor?
No, I don't think Tyrod should know that. He's been in the league for how long? You would think 14 seconds left. You have no timeouts.
Are we confirmed yet whether or not Dable gave him permission to?
We're never going to find that.
Yeah. Okay.
Why not just go in shotgun and throw the ball to the end zone twice?
No, I mean that's what everyone's saying. Now, look, if they run in the end zone, we're not having this discussion right now. And if Taylor saw it,
we're having this discussion, but it's not going to be. It's not as.
Yeah, it's not. There's not as much heat around it. So anyway, they come away with 0 points there, and then a pass interference in the end zone gives them an untimed down at the 1. This time they throw it, and you guys all think it was clear pass interference on Derek.
It was.
Yeah, it was.
No, I mean it was one of those situations where, frankly, I think the Bills are probably told that they could do whatever pass interference they want because as a ref in a home stadium, you're not calling that second pass interference call almost no matter what. Like it has to be Saints Rams level for you to consider calling that just because look, these guys are fallible human beings you don't want to keep like there's some inertia to keep you from just throwing that flag and keeping the game going. So I certainly feel it. But no, I mean, it was an obvious missed call.
Yeah, and ultimately it winds up costing the Giants the game. They go to 1-5 now on the season after starting last year 6-1. But this felt like one. Watching the game, the Giants are moving up and down on the Bills' defense, and then they just ultimately New York winds up losing this one because of the red zone inefficiency.
Yeah, I mean this game to me, there were a couple of headlines. I was skeptical. It was a massive spread, about 14, 15 points. But you got Brian Dable coming back. You figure he probably knows Josh Allen. He probably really wanted to win this game as well. And the other side of the ball, if you're Buffalo, you're a 7-1 favorite outright. You probably come to this game at home at night. Okay, like we're gonna walk all over these guys, and they come out and they punch you right in the mouth. So not to knock Buffalo completely, I am impressed with them playing all game pretty poorly. Didn't get to the red zone until 3 minutes left in the third quarter. Their first 4 drives were punts, 2 turnovers in the first half. They were horrible, and yet they're able to score 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and win a sloppy game.
Yeah,
so not to knock them completely. They played a very bad game and found a way to win it.
Giants outgained them and had 1 time of possession. Go ahead, Ziggy.
I'm scared of this Bills team.
Yeah, let's talk about Buffalo.
Because look, here's the thing about Buffalo is in order to win a Super Bowl, you're going to have to win a few games in a row. And this Bills team is one of the most schizophrenic NFL teams I have ever seen. Right? On the one hand, you have a team that beats the Dolphins 48-20, the Raiders 38-10. The Commanders, 37-3, right? Dominant offense, dominant defense, every single player playing lights out. On the other hand, you have a team that lost to the Jets, that were reeling from losing Aaron Rodgers, that lost to the Jaguars, that really probably should have lost to the Giants. You're either getting the best team in the NFL or a team that is inexplicably awful, where nothing they do works. And you don't know what it's going to be each week. They've had 3 great games and 3 awful games. That's a coin flip. You are not winning the AFC coin flipping your way through the playoffs, whether you're getting Superman Josh Allen or Bizarro Josh Allen.
That's a scary thing, because Buffalo, they have a tendency to do this. And this can translate to the postseason. We just saw it last year. They're at home. They lay a total dud against the Bengals.
Well, this is what Zach and I were talking about before the show started. I said, the Chiefs and the Bengals, those 2 teams are going to be playing their best football in the playoffs. You can be confident right now that you will see the best version of Patrick Mahomes. You will see the best version of Joe Burrow and those teams come playoff time. Buffalo, you can't say that. You don't know what you're going to get sometimes. I think the Ravens are a little bit of the same case. The Ravens can go out there and just lay a goose egg in the worst possible time. We saw it against Indianapolis just a couple weeks ago. These games that you really need to win. Now, I understand Cincinnati's struggling right now, but aren't you confident that at the end of the year they'll be playing good football?
Oh, since he's in the postseason, yes.
Yeah, you're confident in that team. Buffalo here right now, the past 2 weeks, they scored 7 points in the first half. And you have 0 against the Giants at halftime. It's when they're not playing well, like you said, Ziggy, it's concerning. And that's the problem with them. I trust them to get to the playoffs, probably win the AFC East still. But, man, once they're there, you just don't know.
Well, and I just want to head something off from Bills fans, because Bills fans are going to say Josh Allen had a hurt right shoulder, right? He wasn't 100% this game. And all of that is true. But the way Josh Allen plays, it is highly unlikely he's going to be 100% heading into the playoffs. And we've seen over and over again the kind of guy he is. You get the good games, you get the occasional bad game. He's a lot like Brett Favre in that way, right? He will give you 13 or 14 excellent games a season, but 1 or 2, it's just going to be a meltdown. You just have to hope that doesn't come at the wrong time for the Bills. And it's tough for me to see how they're going to be able to win a Super Bowl if they keep being this hot and this cold.
Well, we need to clarify and say you're going to get a lot more good Bills than bad Bills. They're 13.
Oh, that's what I said. I'm talking. You will get 14 really good games from Josh Allen a season. That's not nothing. His really good game is top 2 quarterback in the NFL.
It's just you never know.
Sunday you have this nonsense.
Yeah, you can never know when you're going to have the bad one, and that's what's scary.
Especially to come home off a loss to Jacksonville and look bad against the Giants for 3 quarters.
You still take the win. You take any win you can get.
In the NFL, yes.
But it was one where you were expecting this game to be. I remember when they showed it last week on Sunday Night Football that this was the game for the week 6. I was saying, why the hell are we having these BS games every week?
If the Giants don't screw up to end the half and they get into the end zone, let's say, and it's 13-0, with the way Buffalo had looked, I don't know if they win that game.
Oh, if the Giants just convert, 2 of their 5 red zone trips to touchdowns, this game doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
So, but Buffalo, you got to give them credit. At the end of the day, they wind up winning.
Good fourth quarter.
Good fourth quarter for the most part. But man, feels like they escaped that one. And you know what? Early in the season, still, or sort of early in the season, we're getting to that middle point. You still take wins, but you just need they need to get more consistent by the time we get to November, December football.
I mean, to overcome a half where you turn it over twice and you punt your first 4 times and don't reach the red zone until late in the third, you'll take a win.
Zach says they only have a guaranteed stellar game if they're playing the Dolphins.
It's true. How do you drop 40 on us, lose to the Jags, and then almost lose to the Giants?
They dropped 48.
Yeah, 48.
You round it to 50.
Ziggy, I will take you off the screen again.
Do it.
Right, let's finish up here. We got one more game.
Done.
We'll talk up there. There he goes. We'll talk Texans Saints. The Texans come away with a 20-13 win here, and the first half was really exciting. First half had some fireworks, 17-10 at halftime, then only 6 points combined in the second half. But Houston winds up coming away with the win. CJ Stroud did have his first interception, but when you're watching him play still, it's just a lot of fun watching this kid go out there. And the Texans at the moment, to me, 100% look like a wild card contending team. I believe Jacksonville is going to keep getting better and better and probably pull away with this now. I'm off the Titan train. I'm done. Bad call. But the Texans here at the moment, you have still a lot of reason to be excited. It wasn't the best CJ Stroud performance, but we talk about the eye test sometimes, and I know so many people are into analytics now. When you're watching the Texans play, you say, yeah, this is a good football team.
I mean, Stroud put a decent enough game, for sure. A couple touchdowns.
First half was awesome.
Yeah, I think the Saints are a pretty bad football team for the most part. I know they just beat the Pats 34-0, but they're one of the worst teams in the league. The Saints are below average. You want to win this game at home for Houston, and you did. The good thing is, the Texans fans probably did not expect them to be 3-3 the first 6 weeks. Like, this is a cool game where it's like, okay, hosting the Saints, we're 2-3, but this is a winnable game. Let's get out here and do this. Like, we're not 0-5, 0-6. Like, let's go win this game, and they did. And I'm 3-3. Like, there's optimism for sure.
2-4, you might start going, okay, here we go again. Probably like could spiral. But 3-3, it's back on track. And Saints defense was top 6 in points per game and yards allowed per game.
But you expect, if you're at least I did, to be like, what, 1-4? Be like, oh, maybe we can beat the Saints, maybe not.
You'd be where the Panthers are. Especially when you find out the offensive line, everyone's going to get hurt.
But it's nice now going into a week 5 game at 2-3, or week 6 game, and expecting to win that game and winning that game, which they did.
Ziggy, it looked like you were caught between a yawn and a thought right there.
No, I mean, I got a lot of thoughts, but I'll just say this much. CJ Stroud is putting together a very strong rookie campaign. I mean, in his past 4 weeks, this was his worst game. And this was a pretty good game, right? He continues to make big plays. You wish he had a little bit more accuracy, but that's something that's going to develop and come with time. Like, he's just playing like a quality NFL quarterback. He's consistently doing enough for the team to win their games, right? I mean, if it weren't for that Desmond Ridder miracle drive, the best drive he's played in the NFL, this Texans team would have won. Yeah, they would have won 4 games in a row. They're going to Carolina. It could just as easily be 5. They got the third. Yeah, they've got one of the easiest schedules left in the NFL. Like, this is a great situation for the Texans, right? I mean, they faced the hardest stretch. Like, look, is it perfect? No. I mean, you would have liked to have won another game or two. But this season is all about developing their young players and not being so bad that you regret trading your first-round pick for next year. And they're not going to be there, right? They've got 2 budding stars. The quarterback's playing well. Nico Collins finally looks like who he was supposed to be. They're winning games. The vibes are good. Like, this is a fine time to be a Texans fan.
Here's the only place where I'm going to pump the brakes, because I agree that this is an absolute success for Texans. Like, Texans fans should be thrilled right now. The only spot, and now I'm going to take a broader look at this and say, okay, in terms of contending for the playoffs, which is on the radar at the moment, the one spot I want to see Houston improve on is just playing out a full game really well. Because think about the last 2 weeks. The Falcon game, they went basically the entire second half without doing anything until the touchdown drive to take the lead at the end of the game. And this one here, the Saints in the fourth quarter miss a chip shot field goal. They turn the ball over on downs deep in Texan territory. This very easily could have been a game where the Saints walked away winners. The Saints outgained them 430 to 297. It wasn't like this. Even though it was 20-13, the Texans may not have actually been the better football team throughout this entire game. And that's where it's like, okay, if you want to be a playoff contending team, you got to string together a full 4 quarters, and we haven't seen that in most games from the Texans this year. We have seen it a couple times. The Steelers, they just dominated that football game. But as you continue to go on through the season, yeah, you can't have stretches where you turn it, where you have 3 and out over and over and over again. That's how you lose games that you should win.
Yeah, these guys probably aren't, when all said and done, a team that's going to end up in the wild card. I mean, they'll shatter expectations. And that's what you're going to get, though. You're not really going to get a lot of complete games start to finish with such a young...
No, it's part of the rebuild process.
Yeah, it's such a young roster, but I didn't think that they'd be 3-3 right now, even being talked about as a potential wild card team.
Oh, not at all.
Well, they're not a wild card team.
I agree.
They're winning the division.
No, he's saying division. He's saying
division. Look, here's... CJ Stroud needs a little bit more time to settle into his role. He's already been good. I think he's going to continue to get better, right? This is one thing we've said over and over again. It's obvious every week he's learning and guys are growing around him. They beat the Jaguars once. If they can beat the Jaguars at home, 3 of their last 4 games are divisional games, right? They play the Titans twice and the Colts once. The Colts aren't doing anything with Gardner Minshew. The Titans aren't doing anything with whatever the heck this team is. If they can sweep the Jaguars and play good football, the division is still well within reach.
Oh, 100%.
Because even though they haven't been putting together good games, right, complete games all around, they're 3-3. They beat the best team in the division, huge on the road by 20 points. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's unlikely they get a wild card spot. The AFC is still pretty darn good. There's a lot to look forward to here. They could easily win the division.
Well, all right. We'll wrap up the Week 6 reaction show right there. So sad when I'd see Anthony Richardson's contemplating season-ending shoulders.
No, it is. It's happening.
It's happening? Is that confirmed just now?
Well, whoever it is just said probably going to do it.
God,
so that's
you have to do it. You have to do it. I mean, Anthony... I don't care what Jim Irsay says. He'll say whatever. But the fact is, you just have to take the long view here and get him healthy.
It stinks.
I mean, that's not good. Not good to, 3 of his first 5 games he's injured and now knocked out.
Team either.
My fantasy team's in a lot of trouble.
The Colts black cloud? Is their quarterbacks just always get injured?
Oh, no, the Colts are absolutely a black cloud franchise in recent years.
Maybe in recent years, yeah, but you had Peyton Manning for...
Yeah, but here's the thing. No, things were good for a while, but the black cloud... Peyton Manning left due to injury. They
won a Super Bowl. I don't care.
Andrew Luck.
You had the top 3 quarterback ever and won a Super Bowl.
It's tough to say black cloud when you just won a Super Bowl.
No, black cloud are the Vikings. Black clouds are the Browns.
The clouds are rolling in. It's a rolling in.
Maybe you have some storm clouds in Indianapolis.
Maybe they just have the injury bug.
You're not in the hurricane that we are.
Even Luck took him to an AFC chip.
Yeah, I mean, my world's like a tornado, an endless tornado. It's just absurd.
Didn't Carson Wentz sprained both his ankles on
but they weren't doing anything with Carson Wentz. They weren't doing anything.
Yeah, but he sprained both of his ankles. Who sprains both their ankles in one game?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
I don't know. You can't compare it to like Teddy Bridgewater blowing up his knee or like Aaron Rodgers tearing his Achilles on play 4. This is just it's different worlds. It's different worlds, guys.
Well, the difference is the Colts have done it with 4 quarterbacks so far.
Yeah, they went to 2
I'm not going to
bowls.
sit here and argue whether or not the Colts or Vikings are more unlucky. It's
They were the 2 bowls of Peyton Manning.
All right. We will wrap up the show right there. Thanks again for listening. Please like, comment, and subscribe. You could check out, speaking of like Black Cloud stuff, I'll show you for Viking fans who are still watching. We made shirts, Black Cloud franchise. Can you see that, Zach? Is it in frame here?
It's in frame.
Yeah, there you go. Black Cloud franchise. That's actually for sale for $20 on our show website. So if you're a sad Viking fan and want to walk around in a nice pajama shirt, something like that, go check it out. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you with the Week 7 prediction show. Week 7 already. Sheesh. We're moving along. We'll see you later.